All right, so in this tutorial, I'm going to show you how to learn SQL in about 5 minutes. So let's just jump right in and get started. So there's two tables primarily we're going to be working with, and this is I'm querying against a SQL Server database, so that's going to be the query syntax that I'm using. We're going to use two tables, this dim date table, and it's just a table, it's like a date lookup table. It just has a bunch of information regarding time, dates and times and things like that. And we're going to use this fact call center table. It's just a table that has all kinds of metrics concerning call centers, right? So orders, things like that. So those are the two tables we're going to be used. Now, I'm going to go through the basics very quickly because they are super basic, but I assume nothing. I assume this is for beginners, so here we go. Now, when you want to query a table, the first thing you're going to start out with is select. That is a keyword that's going to denote what columns you want to select from the table. Now, if you want to select, let's take a look at this dim date table. Let's expand it here. So when you see the columns here are date key, full date alternate key, things like that. So let's say we want to select date key from the table. You just do select. That's the keyword you're going to use. Type in the column. Okay. If you want to select everything, you can just do star, and that'll give you everything. So let's just leave it there. Now, the next thing you want to do is, what are you selecting? We've already specified that here. We want to select everything. Where do you want to select it from? You type from. And then you enter your table name. So dim date. And we can execute that. And that gives us everything from that table. So it's all the columns and all the rows. Now, usually when you're querying something, you're looking for specific data. So you want to filter this query. So keyword for that is where. Now, let's say we want everything for this date. Okay, so you're going to say where, and the column name is date key, right? So where date key equals, and then the value. This will give me all the records where this field is equal to this value. Okay, so those are the basics now. All right, now let's expand on the concept of filtering. Let's suppose you wanted to return records for two dates, right? Let's say we wanted both of these dates. So you could do where date key equals that, or date key equals this, and that would work. That would give you both records. But an easier approach is to just simply use the keyword, instead of equal sign, use the keyword in, open parentheses, and then comma, then paste the next value in there, and then close parentheses. And that's an easier way to get the same results there. So that is the in keyword. Now, you can also, as I showed you before, you can chain statements together. So let's say we wanted where these dates end where, let's say, day number of week and day number of week equals 7. So then it filters down to just the one row because that is the week number. So these are how you can chain together filters, right? You can use in, you use the object and or, use those keywords to chain things together to make your filters. So that's filtering. Pretty straightforward. Now, let's move on to joining, because I think this is where a lot of people get confused. And it can be a little confusing, but hopefully I can make this easy now. All right. So most of the time when you're querying databases, you need things from multiple tables. So you'll have to join them together in your query. Okay, so let's take a look at the first type of join, which is called an inner join. Okay, and let's take a look at what this does. So again, let's erase this. Now, let's say we want to select from our fact call center table. This is the other table we're going to be working with. Let's just select everything real quick just to take a look at what's here. Okay, now, here's the date key. But suppose we want to get the name of the day, right? Or the day, yeah, let's say the weekday name, okay? Well, in order to get that, that is right here. If you look on the left, that is in our dim date table. That's where all the attributes related to dates are. So, in order to get that into our query, we need to join. So, again, the first type of join is called an inner join. So we'll type inner join, and we'll drag over our date dim date table. And then the next keyword you want to type is on. This is where you specify what am I joining on? How am I supposed to link these tables? So we're going to do fact call center dot date key equals dim date dot date key. So now let's do, you know what, let's also add a filter. Let's say where date key, we'll just use this, where fact call center dot date key equals this. So we'll only select one date. And there you have it. Now let's scroll to the right. Now it's gonna, we did a star here, so we selected everything. Okay, but let's clean this up a bit. Let's say we just want fact call center dot star. So that'll give us everything, but only from this table. Let's do comma to add fields, okay? And let's say we only want one field from the dim date table. So we want dim date dot name of week, okay? So we'll rerun this. And now, as you can see, we have everything from the fact call center, but let's scroll to the right, and there's our name of week. So this is how we joined two tables together to get information we want, to compile information. And this is an inner join. Now, the next type of join is called an outer join. But now, before we move on to the next type of join, there's one thing I want to make very clear here. Inner joins will find matching records, right? In our case, we want to match records based on date key. But if there is not a match, it will drop records. Okay? So in other words, let's change this. So let's join to our dim date table based on something we know will not work. So instead of date key, we'll join our fact call center date key to, I don't know, dim date dot day of week, right? We'll do something that doesn't make sense, okay? Because this will not find a match. So no date key will ever equal number of week, right? Or day number of week. That will never be equal. So let's run this and see what happens. We get no results. So even though the fact call center date key in our filter here does exist in our fact call center, because we inner joined to dim date and nothing was found, no records were returned. It will only find matching records in both tables. So both tables have to be paired in order for it to be returned in the results. That is very crucial. Okay, and I actually think inner joins are overused out in the world. But that's a personal opinion. So that's the difference. That's an inner join. Now let's go ahead and move on to an outer join. And let's take the same example, but let's change inner join to, and we'll talk about, we'll use left outer join. Left outer join. That's the keyword for an outer join. Now let's rerun the same query again and see what happens. We get our results back. But what you'll notice, let's scroll all the way to the right to our day of week name, it's null. So even though it did not find matching records, it still returned everything from our left table. This is considered the left table, the fact call center, right? It still returned everything from there. It just, because it didn't find a match in the dim date table, that was okay. It still returned whatever results it could, but obviously didn't find a match, so we could not get day name of week, English day name of week. It could not return that. Okay? But now, let's go ahead and change this back to the proper field, date key. And let's rerun our results. And as you can see, our left outer join returned the same results as previously with our inner join, and we successfully got English day name of week. So we've successfully joined this table. All right, so next up, let's talk about grouping. Typically, when you query data, you may want to aggregate the results, right? You may want to total things up, sum the metrics, right? So let's go ahead and do that. Let's see how we do that here. So we're going to select, let's see, what's a good one to do? Let's group by date key. We'll use the same date key. So we'll select fact call centers dot date key, okay, and we'll keep day name of week. That's fine. We'll add another field. We'll say comma. Only now, let's say we want to sum the calls, right? We want to know how many total calls we got that day. So what you're going to do is, when you perform a group by, you're going to have to use an aggregate function. So we'll do sum. That's the keyword, calls. And now since we used an aggregate function sum, we need to add a group by. And what are we grouping that by? It has to be by the columns that are not summed. So that's an important distinction to make. When you add a group by, okay, whatever columns you're not performing an aggregate against, that you're not summing or averaging or whatever, have to be in your group by, okay? Now, so let me show you. Let's remove this English day name of a week, and let's try to run it. It will fail. See, it failed. It needs to be in the group by, okay? Let's put it back, and then let's execute this. And there you have it. Here are our total calls for this day, right? Which is a Thursday. Now you might notice here, look at this, no column name, right? Because we performed a function against it, it loses ties to its original column name. So quickly, I'll show you a little trick. It's called aliasing, right? And this is how we can change column names on the fly. So let's say instead of calling this calls, we want to call this total calls. So we can just put a space and then the alias name, or you can put as total calls, either way. Let's rerun this, and there you go. Now our column name is total calls. Okay, now another thing we can do is we can sort queries, right? So we can do order by. That's the keyword for that. Now this is not going to have any effect, but you get the idea. And you choose which field you want to sort it by. And we can rerun that, and there you have it. Okay, so that's grouping, that's ordering, that's aggregate functions, that's aliasing. The other thing I want to point out is that you can also alias tables. So let's say instead of typing out fact call center dot dim date dot to specify the fields and to do the joins, let's say we wanted something shorter. So let's call this F for fact. So we'll just do space F. Now we can reference this table as simply F in our query. And let's say dim date, we want to rename that to D for a query. So now we can come in here, we can change all these F, D, D, F, and we can run this, and this will run success. Oh, I missed one. Yep, here we go. And we'll do f.calls. There we go. Okay. And there we go. So that's aliasing. All right. Next, I want to show you what you can do with a group by, how you can then filter the results of your group by. So let's do this. Let's remove our filter here and say we want everything. And let's say we only want, we can remove our, actually we can leave our order by. But let's say, you know what, this is great. We've now group call, let's run this and see what we get. Okay, so now we have our calls totaled by day, okay? But this is great, but let's say we only want to see calls with a total greater than, let's say, 1,500, right? We're trying to isolate some days that maybe have high call volumes, okay? So what you want to do is you want to come down here. If you want to filter your group by, so remember, this will filter the results after they are grouped, okay? If we were to use it in the where clause, right, where calls greater than 1,500, this would apply before it's grouped, right? So this would filter out days that did not have calls greater than 1,500. We don't want to do that. First, we want to total all the calls. Then we want to filter them, okay? So to do that, after your group by, you use the keyword having, okay? And then we want to filter on our total calls. So having sum total calls greater than, and again, you can use anything you want. You can use greater than, you can use less than, you can use equal to, right? So let's say greater than 1,500. And let's run this. There you go. So now you can see all of these calls, all of the results, all of the records have total calls greater than 1,500. Okay, so this halving is how you can filter the results after they're grouped and totaled. Okay, so it's how you can use your totals to perform additional filtering. All right, so now I want to cover some more advanced concepts here. Now, before we get started, I want you to keep in mind something here. I want you to picture queries as like spontaneous tables, okay? And the reason why I'm saying that is so that you know that you can actually join queries to other queries, okay? And you can use queries as though they are tables. So let me show you what I mean. Let's keep our query here. Let's copy and paste this, and we'll change it up a little bit. Okay, so let's say we want to create a new query. So this is, I'll put a comment. This is total calls. And let's say we want to total something here in this query, but let's say we want to total a different column. Let's total orders. Okay, so let's run this. Oh, let's get rid of this. And let's see what this looks like. Let's see what we want to do. Okay, so let's say we want orders greater than, I don't know, 700. Okay, let's put that back. So let's say we're orders greater than 700. Now, let's make a comment here so we know what we're looking at. This is total orders. Okay. Now, so we have two queries here, okay? Now let's say what if we wanted to join these queries? We can actually do that. So let me show you what I mean here. So remember, think of these like spontaneous tables. So let's do this. Let's wrap these in parentheses, and you have to alias them, and you can alias as anything you want. We'll call this A. Okay, and let's add another select up here. We'll just do select star from. Okay, so this is going to be our first table. Remember, so now this is like a table. We're selecting from what's in parentheses here. Okay, so we're doing another select on top of the results of this query. So again, see how this is resembling like a spontaneous table? And now we can join. Let's do a left outer join. Remember, left outer joins, even if there's no match, we should still get results from our main table here. Okay, so we'll left outer join this. We'll wrap it in parentheses again. We'll call this B. We'll alias as B. Now, when you join something, remember the keyword is on, and you have to tell it, what am I joining this on? So it's going to be a.dateKey equals b.dateKey. Now let's run this. Oops, can't have an order by. Sorry about that. I forgot about that. There you go. You learned something new. You can't have an order by. Yeah, that was on purpose. I did that on purpose. You cannot have an order by in a subquery like that. Now, let's run this again. And there you have it. So now, we've joined two queries to each other. So we can not only join tables, but we can also join queries to other queries. So we joined the results of two queries, and we selected from those results. Now we could also filter. So we could add a where clause here. So let's say where total calls, where a dot total calls, let's say greater than 1700. We'll use the first word, greater than 1700. So now we can filter. Let's run that. And there, we only have two results. Total calls 1700 and 1800. So now we've written two queries, grouped them, summed the results, right? We summed the calls and we summed the total orders. So we've written two queries. We've joined those two queries to each other, and then we've filtered the results. So this is more advanced concepts, but I think by seeing something like this, I think it opens up a whole new world for querying and the kinds of things you can accomplish using SQL. Now, one other thing I want to show you is another place you can use what are called subqueries is in filters. So we can say where a.dateKey, we'll use our keyword statement in, and then again, subqueries always need to be in parentheses. So we'll add parentheses here, and we'll just say, well, we can write another query in here now. So let's say select date key from dim date. So what this is going to say is only give me dates where the date is in this table, right? Because we're selecting all. So again, so this is going to take the date key from our table A up here, and it's going to make sure it is found in this query here. So this is called a subquery. So now we can run this. It should return everything, and it does. And there you have it. All right, so that's SQL in 5 minutes. Hopefully that was about 5 minutes. I don't know. We'll see after editing. Hopefully you enjoyed that. Thanks again for watching. All right, so that'll do it. Please don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit the bell. And also check out jamestechtips.com for more BI-related content. And thanks for watching.